Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Conversation. Today, we are joined by Kristen Mira of Kristen Mira Coaching. We're really excited to have her with us today. So, Kristen, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and how you got into coaching?
Hi, thank you. Well, I got into coaching after doing many years. I was actually in accounting for many years, so I've had quite a windy journey of ending up in doing relationship coaching. But like many years ago, it came through my own relationship struggle because from a young age, I in high school remember being like terrified of my first boyfriend, my first relationship. I had so much anxiety and I lost all this weight because I couldn't even eat. And a lot of it was because I was just afraid of intimacy, afraid of how to communicate. There was just so much that I felt like I lacked in relationship skills. And it got me into, in my 20s, where I actually was so afraid I stayed out of relationships for quite a while. And it wasn't until I started getting into my 30s where I got into relationships that ended up being toxic or people that were considered like players or manipulative, only wanting something casual. And so I was having these bad experiences. And even though I'd always studied, I was always interested in relationships. It wasn't until I started hitting some hard knocks that I really wanted to learn, like, what is going on? Like, why am I getting into these same patterns? And like, what can I do to change or grow? And so I was just fascinated about like the dynamics between men and women and good communication and like what does a healthy relationship look like. And so that kind of propelled me into, I took some time off from accounting and I went to a life coaching program. And then as it was time to like figure out what's my niche going to be, I was like, well, I spent all my time studying about relationships. So that kind of just makes sense that I would. And as I made that decision, like I was just filled with this passion, like, yes, this feels like the right path. So yeah, it's been a fun exploration.
Yeah, how has your coaching business adjusted during the quarantine time? I think that one of the things that I'm noticing is I think relationships and how to deal with relationships has really come to the forefront during this time because we're with each other 24/7, or if you were single and dating, it's now we aren't able to have any physical interaction with people. How have you shifted and adjusted your coaching services during this time?
Yeah, I know it's been quite a shift for everyone. I know that when suddenly you're isolated, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Who are my closest relationships? Like, who are my people?
Mm-hmm.
And whether you're with someone or not, it can really cause people to evaluate that. So I think for me, I've been, like a lot of my work that I do is online. I coach people in this format on Zoom. So that hasn't changed. But I think people's interest in, like, for example, I have a meetup group that I do here in Portland locally, but then we switched it to an online meetup and our numbers like doubled, like the people that signed up for the meetup. So it was cool to see like how much of a need people feel to connect right now and to just be social and know they're not the only ones that are out there, maybe isolated too, like thinking about the single population. And we started like a weekly, there was another group I was in that started like a Friday night discussion, and we just come on, have different topics, and people just like to connect, and they bring their own snacks and hang out for the night. So yeah, that's been one of the ways that I've seen it bring people together in a different way.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear that there's still that desire to connect even virtually. What advice do you have for couples during this time, or even couples that have children where the whole family is spending all of this time together? I find in my own personal experience with my relationship, or from what I've heard from friends, one of the biggest challenges has been the stress that this is causes you to, and I'm guilty of this, you lash out at the person you love for maybe no reason, or for something that has nothing to do with your relationship. It's kind of on edge. So what are some tools and practices we can utilize to really not do that to the people that we love?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think that's true. When we're under crisis, there's more pressure, more stress, and the things we normally wouldn't respond to or lash out at, suddenly we find ourselves like, what is going on? And I think even though sometimes I know I don't have kids, but for my friends that I know, suddenly all of a sudden their workload is doubled. They're not only, working, they're a stay-at-home mom, and they're a teacher, and all these different roles and it can be hard to carve out time for themselves. Like maybe they used to have more time. Maybe in some situations they have less time, or they have more time now. So, but I would encourage people, even in a partnership, it can be good just to carve out some time for yourself, even though you feel like there's so many demands going on. Because when we tune into ourselves, then we can figure out like what's really coming up for me. Like, why did I lash out? Like, maybe I'm reacting to my partner's words or behaviors, but like maybe there's something going on inside of me that I haven't quite tuned into yet, or I don't even know what to express to my partner because I'm not self-aware. So I think just everyone, I mean, there's so much more fear going on out in the world, and I know it can kind of raise our own personal fear levels, our own responsiveness and reactiveness. So just having grace for yourself and being like, okay, something's going on here. How can I tune in? And then once you are able to tune in with yourself, then maybe ask your partner for, time to talk, or maybe even having, I know regular check-ins can be helpful in this time, whether you and your partner already do that or not, maybe even more so now, giving yourself those times where it's like, okay, where are you at today? Like, what do you need? How can I support you? And then part of that, being able to tune into yourself, it's like, oh, I know what I need now, and I can ask for that for my partner. So just a little bit more intentionality, I think, is helpful, recognizing that we're all dealing with change.
Yeah, I think that, relationships can already be a lot of work and challenging for some. And I think that right now is a good opportunity for us to maybe come out of this situation stronger than before, because we are kind of forced to, like you said, look at ourselves and work on ourselves and be more in tune to what our partners need. What about the singles out there? Maybe they were out there in the dating world and going on dates, and now suddenly we're not allowed to leave our houses. What advice do you have for them to, maybe is it taking this time to reflect on ourselves and work on ourselves? What advice do you have for those that aren't in a relationship right now?
Yeah, good question. I know it can be different for, maybe they were out there dating and then they feel like suddenly it was put them at a halt. And I know we've been in it now for about, 30, 40 days, and people are learning. I know like the number of people on apps has increased during this time. Like there are more people that are out there looking to connect virtually. And so I still wouldn't rule that out as an option, whether you've been doing that already or you're thinking about it. And knowing that also, online dating brings with it, there's always just such a big variety of people that sometimes it takes some patience to put yourself out there and like filter through someone who's really good for you. But I think it's actually a really good opportunity, because sometimes in our culture we can like start dating, you meet right away, and you can jump into the physical side of a relationship, which can be really important when you're getting to know someone, but it can also sometimes like substitute for figuring out if there's a deeper connection between you and this other person. So while you're meeting on like a video chat or you're having phone dates, you can be creative with like, let's have a glass of wine over Zoom. It's great because you can build those connections that are more emotional. So you can, like, number one, see what that person's motives are. Are they really looking for emotional connection, or or whereas before in person, you could have jumped into the physical connection. You don't really know, is that what they're about, or is there something more here? And so I think it's actually in some ways a good opportunity to like slow things down a bit. Yeah. So I think that's one positive actually that's come out of this for those that are single wanting to date.
Yeah, that's great. I never really thought of it that way, but you're right. I think it's a great way to get to know someone first and like you said, see what their motives are. Your website has a lot of really great content about fears and blocks and reasons that we don't allow ourselves to be open to love. What, in your experience and maybe your personal experience and working with others, what do you think are our biggest fears and blocks that prevent us from being in, opening ourselves up to a relationship or being in a healthy relationship? Because there are a lot of people that still have those fears and blocks when they're in a relationship, and it can really damage that intimacy.
Totally. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think so many of our fears go back to like, as humans, we want to belong and we want to know that we're worthy and we're loved. And so, so much of what we fear is like related to that. Like, am I good enough? Do I measure up? Do I, and some of those blocks come in because of experiences we've had earlier in life where we've maybe got the message from our caregivers or whoever that we don't measure up, or we aren't accepted, or someone's gonna, if we get rejected by this person, then no one else is gonna want us. And so like in a dating situation, we can put a lot of our eggs in one basket. Like I know I work with a lot of women that if this relationship doesn't work out, maybe it's not a good relationship, but if it doesn't work out, then who else will date me? And so they'll tolerate behaviors that they normally wouldn't want. Or and then inside of a relationship, of course, there are things that come up, stories that we can start to believe in our minds, like if I share this to my partner, they might not want to, I might lose connection, or they might go away. And it's all getting at that fear of belonging. Like, will I still belong? If I share my deep secrets, will I still belong? Will this person? And I think the more I grow personally and the more I study, it's like we always belong to ourselves. And how can we get so secure in that we can offer that security to a partner, and know that if we lose something, maybe it wasn't a good fit, but we always will belong to ourselves. And so that's a lot of the work that I do, like helping people to like really integrate that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Your Facebook About section says something that I really loved. It says, relationships are the one thing we don't learn in school. And I've always felt that is such a tragedy, and it's one of the most important skills we can develop. So what are some ways, what do you think are the best ways to learn about relationships and practice those behaviors outside of, working with someone like yourself, reading self-help books and listening to podcasts? How do we put those things into practice, not only relationships with others, but also with ourselves?
Yeah, I know, it's such a good question, because I think it's such a lost practice in our culture. Yeah, I know for me personally, I've been going to, my training is at the relationship school. That's what it's called. And so that's part of where that philosophy comes from. And one of the things that we do there is we actually create like friendships and partners in our lives where we practice communication skills. So we'll have someone that like we agree we're going to be accountable. Like, hey, I'm working on setting my boundaries, and so can I like practice with you? So there's literally like practice things. And when I work with clients, they'll have like homework where they can like practice certain skills that they want to work on. But I think even, you can read a lot in books, you can hear a lot in podcasts, but so often until we start to walk it out with other people, it doesn't like sink in. So I think just finding other growth-minded people that want to grow too, whether that's in like a support group, whether it's in like a coaching group or a church group or whatever, where there's people that are wanting to grow, and just finding those practice places where you can like put into practice what you're learning on a podcast, or put into practice, I have trouble speaking up, so I'm going to challenge myself to speak up in this group, or whatever it is that you want to be working on. So
that's a great idea. I'm going to practice that this week.
Yeah.
So during quarantine, we've all had to really scale back on what is considered essential in our lives. During this time, what is something that you've found has been something that is essential for you and that you just can't live without during this time while we're in quarantine?
Yeah. I mean, I would say here we are on Zoom, and like I use Marco Polo with my friends a lot, the video app, and I just feel like it's so essential. I'm on the border of like introvert, extrovert, so this has been a little bit shocking to get used to. So I find just video apps, anything that like connects me to a person that feels like more than just a text, has really become essential for me right now.
That's great. And what about, have there been any businesses or brands that you've been watching that have really pivoted and adjusted really well during this time that you've been impressed by?
What comes to mind is just like the restaurants that I've been to locally. They really had to pivot, like how they are safe with their practices and how they're still able to make money even though they've had such a hit. I went to this place, Killer Burger. It's a local burger place this week, and I was like, oh, they had it down. Like they had the online ordering, and then like the outside table where you pick up your food and go, and I'm just like, wow, they're really like doing it well. Like so I felt safe, and it was really good food, and yeah, it was just nice to have a good experience even though so much is closed down.
Yeah, we ordered Killer Burger a few weeks ago too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we try once a week to support, I don't know if Killer Burger is local, but we try to support a local business every week. And same thing, we've been really impressed by, there's a restaurant we really like in downtown Vancouver called La Bottega. They turned their entire dining area into a grocery. So you can go in and buy fresh pasta and sauces and, make that kind of food that you would order there at home. So I was really impressed with them.
Oh, that's a great idea. Maybe we'll have to go visit.
Yeah, you should. They're amazing, delicious Italian food.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I think this is something that a lot of people are going to find value in during this time. What are some ways we can support your business right now? Are you spending your time on Instagram, Facebook? What can we do to support you right now?
Yeah, you can come to my Facebook page or Instagram. I have a women's group that I'm hoping to kick up a little bit more activity come summer. It's called Captivate Him with Ease. So it's both partnered and single women, but a lot about dating. You can come join the group. And also I'm going to be doing an upcoming class around shifting how you show up so that you can attract better people in dating. And I'll have more information on that. If you go to my website, that you can just sign up for my newsletter, and I'll be getting out more details about that.
Great. Well, we'll share all those links, and we look forward to all of those exciting upcoming offers. Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, thanks, Mariah.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.